A scream tore from Lucian's throat as the vat rotated horizontal and the glass door hissed open, admitting the cool air of the lab. He had to get out. He had to escape. The only thing that kept him from running from the room was Dr. Nowak and Dr. Wallace restraining him. "Sit still," Dr. Ross said firmly. She helped Lucian out of the mask, and he gasped, as if he'd never breathed in his life. "Easy there," she said. "You had a bit of a nightmare with that last one." Lucian ignored that understatement. His mind reeled with the horrifying images, his heart pounding like mad. "Breathe," Dr. Ross instructed in a calm, collected voice. "In for 4, out for 8. It took a moment for Lucian to follow her instructions. He sat there for a good minute or two, going through the same breathing technique. By the time he had calmed, Dr. Wallace and Dr. Nowak helped him to stand. A bout of dizziness almost made him collapse, but the 2 male doctors were there to support him. "Stay still," Dr. Wallace ordered. "Get your bearings." It was another minute before Lucian felt calm enough to think straight. The images of the last dream still swirled in his head, inducing a sense of vertigo. What could it mean? Had the doctor seen all that? But before he could embrace the reality of it, he freed himself from the doctor's collective grip. He had to get out of there. "Where's the shower?" he asked. Dr. Ross's expression was a mask of concern. Lucian could only imagine the figure he cut in his pink-soaked scrubs. "That way," she said, nodding toward a door across the lab. "We'll give you 10 minutes to get situated." The doctors left, leaving Lucian to shower in peace. The globs of pink interface fluid slid off his body and down the drain. Despite the heat of the water, he was shaking as if he were freezing. By the time he stepped into the airdryer, he had relaxed a bit, but his hands were still trembling. That voice, what had that been about? The doctors had said nothing to prepare him for that. He tried to push the dreams from his mind. What did they all mean? If anything, it wasn't a problem anymore. All he could do was leave this place and forget this day for the rest of his life. As Dr. Ross said, the odds of him being a mage were low. What did she say they found? About 2 a year? Lucian couldn't remember. But then again, he could be the one. And with a dream like that last one. Lucian shook his head and dressed in his street clothes. He stepped back into the lab to find Dr. Nowak waiting for him.
"Your paperwork is done," he said. "You should have your results soon."
"Am I good to go?" He gave a cursory nod.
"We'll send them by email. If there's anything of concern, we'll let you know."
"What are the odds of that happening?" Dr. Nowak hesitated for a bit before answering, pushing his glasses back up his nose.
"Well, the odds are low, roughly 1 in 1,000 once you get to this point."
For some reason, that didn't make Lucian feel much better. He had a feeling that Nowak knew something, but he didn't want to find out what that was. "Okay, guess I'll head out then."
"Drink plenty of fluids and take it easy."
Lucian couldn't get out of the building fast enough. The elevator ride down from the 50th floor took an eternity. Once Lucian stepped outside under the sweltering sun, he hurried to the Lev station. He clenched his fist as he took the steps up to the Lev platform. He couldn't but look over his shoulder at the curving facade of the League Health Authority gleaming in the front of the Biscayne Bay. Before, Lucian had been ambivalent about the League of Worlds. Like most of its citizens, its inefficiency was a nuisance that hardly touched him outside of a random inconvenience. Looking at that building now, though, Lucian's mouth twisted in disgust. A magnetic Lev train pulled soundlessly into the station. A pass cost a small fortune, but they were the most convenient way of getting around the city. Thankfully, Lucian's pass was free due to his internship with the League. Otherwise, he would have to travel by boat through one of Miami's hundreds of sprawling canals. The city had mostly sunk beneath the Atlantic by the 23rd century, over 100 years before Lucian's time. He couldn't imagine what the city had been like before. Now, the city was a patchwork of artificial islands, floating high-rises, and multi-tiered boardwalks interconnected by canals and lev trains. He stepped inside the lev, trying to formulate a reason for his absence that his mother would accept. If she found out the truth, she'd had an aneurysm. "Mom, I'm home!" The clatter of pots and pans told him she was cooking. What was she doing in there? They had a meal plan. She looked over her shoulder, revealing a short woman with shoulder-length brown hair, brown eyes, and a round face. "You mind helping me with this, son?" Lucian dropped his backpack and walked into the kitchen, to the side of an open cabinet. She sighed with exasperation. "Why do you keep things so high? Get that blender for me, will you?" Lucian got it down for her. "I barely even use it. Forgot I had it, to be honest. It might be dusty." "I've been away too long," she grumbled. A strand of hair fell across her face, which was pockmarked with several moles. She brushed it aside in agitation. "You don't eat enough fruits and vegetables, Lucian. It's a wonder you grew so tall." Lucian could only shake his head. "It's good to have you back, Mom." She'd been back 3 days from her fleet furlough, and it already felt like 3 months. After living on his own for months, it was hard getting used to her being back. Technically the condo was hers, but to Lucian it didn't feel that way. She spent months at a time stationed with the fleet, mostly at Sol Citadel, the League military starbase about 500,000 clicks from Mars. His mother placed some banana, pineapple and blueberries in a blender, along with milk and vitamin powder. After a few seconds of whirring, it came out perfectly smooth. "Drink this," she commanded, handing him the glass. He drank. When his mother told him to do something, it was far easier to comply than argue. "Why do you look like that, son?" she asked, her left eyebrow arched in suspicion. "Like what? Like you swallowed a frog. And before you say anything, I know it's not the smoothie." "Did you really look that sick?" "I'm fine." "No? Something's happened. Tell me." "Nothing's happened. I had to stay late to study for the civil exam." "Uh-huh. Sure. You're worrying me sick." As Lucian struggled for what to say, her face lit up, as if in realization. "Ah, I know what it is. You're hungry." "That's it. No worries. I'll make you something more substantial." Lucian held back his sigh of relief as he watched his mother rummage through the fridge. She took out a few eggs and butter and started frying them. "Why are you cooking, Mom? We got a meal plan. We can have full dinner delivered in less than 5 minutes." She shrugged. "Out there, eating the slop they serve us, I kinda miss cooking. I miss real gravity too." She flipped an egg, as if in demonstration of her point, and it sizzled on the skillet. "Where have you been? Are you back with that girl? I forget her name." The mere reminder of Louisa was almost enough to make him shudder. "No, I'm not. I haven't talked to her in a while." "That's good. She liked to party too much. You need a nice girl, Lucian. Someone a bit older, someone who can take care of you." She frowned, considering. "Yeah, that would be perfect for you." His mother was going to act like a mother, and there was nothing he can do about that. She wasn't so bad when she wasn't sticking her nose into his business, but that was what she did 90% of the time, and he had to deal with it for the next 6 weeks. Lucian got the feeling they would be the longest 6 weeks of his life. "So, where were you, son?" She could be so insufferable. "And don't tell me you were studying. I can always tell when you're lying." Lucian heaved a sigh. "I'm not lying. Why do you always treat me like I'm half my age?" "Because you're acting half your age." He hadn't counted on her tenacity, so he hadn't thought of any more details to make his story more convincing. "The civil exam is coming up," he said. "What's so hard to believe about that?" She shook her head. "Okay, fine." She waved him over. "Eggs are done. You're too thin. How'll you ever find a decent girl looking like that? You're like all those fake girls who starve themselves and maw their faces. That might be why the last one looked a little funny. Those lips made her look like a trout. You're being annoying, Mom. If you're going to mod your face, at least pay the money to get it done right, she went on. Lord knows we have enough face surgeons here in Miami. She shook her head, signaling the end of her rant. Whatever. Grab a plate. No, I should study. You look like something washed up on the side of the canal. Eat. And spend some time with your dear old mom before she gets shipped back out. Is that too much to ask? Lucian sighed. Of course not. Eat then. If there was anything Lucian could count on from his mother, it was her brutal honesty. 3 days of this, and it was driving him up the wall. He grabbed the plate, putting 2 eggs with hot sauce over a large spoonful of black beans. His mother made her own plate, with a cup of dark black coffee to go with it. The aroma was so strong it tingled his nostrils. She could chug that stuff all day and not so much as twitch. Once seated at the table, they started eating. It's so good to be home, she said, though it doesn't feel much like home anymore. Your junk is everywhere. You need to find a home for it or get rid of it. She scrutinized him. Are you taller? I swear you keep growing. I don't know who you get it from. Not my side, that's for sure. I've grown a centimeter at most, Lucian said, trying to keep the awareness from his voice. She waved her hand. Centimeter? When I was your age, we used inches. I guess they finally drilled out that all measurements from the younger generation. Well, metric makes more sense, Mom. Multiplies of 10, easy to remember. I know how it works, but for height, it always makes sense to use feet. Saying you're 6 feet sounds far more impressive. I don't even know what that is in metric. 183 centimeters. She laughed. See? You've made my point. Who has the time to say that? Her demeanor became more serious. There is something I want to talk to you about, and don't think you're getting out of it. She retrieved a slate from her purse and slid it across the table, screen up, toward Lucian. The screen was open to a family inbox. There was an email already opened from the League Health Authority. It was Lucian's appointment reminder from today. Lucian had considered that the doctors would send it to the family inbox as well as his personal one. There was no ready-made excuse to spew out. He'd been caught in the lie. That was why she had been so insistent, giving him 3 chances to come clean. Well, shit. Why didn't you tell me about this? His mother asked. Why were you trying to catch me in a lie in the first place, Mom? He asked. I'm allowed to keep parts of my life to myself. But this? She pointed at the slate. There wasn't anger there anymore. There was fear. Lucian, you need to tell me about stuff like this. This is very serious. You think I don't know that? Lucian said. That's where I was today. I said it was a test, and that's the truth. It was a test. It's not even a big deal. But you've already taken your metaphysical. Why would they do it again? He needed to control himself, but that was difficult to do around her. Lucian drew a deep breath and closed his eyes for a moment before responding. I don't know. They said my original exam was flagged and they had to do a follow-up. It took about an hour, maybe 2. But it's going to be fine. They'll let me go, right? For once, she was quiet, probably thinking of the ramifications. When she looked at him again, her eyes were hurt. Why didn't you tell me? You shouldn't keep stuff like this to yourself, son. He hadn't told her because she would have just made him feel bad about it, like she was doing now. I didn't want to bother you, but you're so happy to be home, and you're still a gravelight anyway. The last thing you need is stress, I thought. I thought I was doing the right thing. I guess not, though. You were going to tell me, though. Yes, of course. He lied. It's not even a big deal. They said only 1 of 1,000 who do the advanced testing is confirmed as a mage. The odds are on my side. If you needed to be kept in the loop, I'm sorry. He hoped that she would take the olive branch. She reached her hand across the table, taking his. Maybe things would calm down. Lucian, you're my son. You have to let me help you. I know I'm not there all the time. I know I haven't been the greatest mother, but please, when I'm here to help you, let me be a mother. I'm not a kid anymore. I know how to take care of myself. Don't do that to me. I work hard to provide for you, so you can go to school, you can get a good job. I try to come home when I can, but it's hard to take off, Lucian. I'm guilty enough already without you making it worse. I'm not blaming you, Lucian said. I appreciate what you do for me. But I'm 20 now. Sure, I'm young, but I'm a man. I can take care of myself. And in another year, I'll be supporting myself. Working for the League, not an ideal situation and not exciting. But he'd have good benefits and get a steady salary with plenty of room for advancement. Assuming he could deal with their bureaucratic bullshit. There was some emotion behind her watery eyes. Was it guilt? Sadness? It made Lucian want to give up talking to her. No matter what he said, he would only make things worse. I know you're 20 now, she said. I know you're your own man. But this test is a big deal. It's okay to lean on me. I'm just saying I'm here. I always will be. Lucian didn't bother to call out the lie. When he was younger, he never understood why his mother had to be gone all the time. But as he grew older, he understood the necessity. His father had been dead 15 years, so she had to support him all on her own. Most of the time, it meant him attending a costly boarding school while his mother was stationed with the fleet or at the Citadel. And when school wasn't in session, a neighbor watched over him. But as the years went by, Lucian was more or less on his own, aside from his mother's short furloughs. He almost never saw her during the Swarmer War, and that had lasted for 5 years. Lucian had mostly repressed the insecurity he felt growing up. He had learned to deal with it quite well, better than most would have expected him to. Learning to deal with loneliness and insecurity meant learning not to care. It hadn't been easy, of course, but in time, Lucian came to prefer solitude. When the Swarmers finally retreated 5 years ago, Lucian saw his mother more, but by then, she had missed a lot of his growing up. What would it even be like to have a normal family? Lucian didn't know. And by now, he trained himself not to care. It hadn't been easy, raising himself, but it was his proudest accomplishment. Even if he didn't want to be a bureaucrat, he made himself study and work hard for it. That made him a strong person, stronger than most anyway. He rarely drank, never used drugs, and took care of himself. He didn't need anybody to make right decisions. So of course he hadn't told his mother about the second exam. Like everything else, he'd learned to deal with it on his own, even if it scared the hell out of him. 1 more year and he'd graduate early. There wasn't a doubt he'd pass the grueling exams. After that, he could apply for many government positions and make a comfortable living. It was conceivable that a posting in the League would take him to other planets too. Lucian had an itch to travel and see the worlds. He had never been off Earth, but he was determined not to live his entire life here. As far as he was concerned, he could forget his childhood had ever existed. He had this stupid fantasy when he was younger, of piloting his own interstellar freighter, a small, bare-bones crew, or better yet, a crew of only droids. He'd make long runs between the gates to distant worlds, spending months between the stars. That wouldn't be an easy job for most, but those who could do it were paid very well. They said the loneliness was enough to break most people. He felt he had been training for something like that his entire life. It was a dumb dream, a fantasy to escape from a lonely childhood. But even Lucian found it strange that his escape from loneliness was an existence even more lonely. The rest of dinner passed in silence. Her face was sad as she scraped the last of the food on her spoon. She seemed lost in her own thoughts, so Lucian didn't interrupt her. She broke the silence with a sigh. Well, if they find something, I'm coming with you this time. No arguments. You need someone to have your back. The idea was repulsive to him, but he was too tired to argue. Those dreams during the test had been pretty disturbing. Drowning, Louisa killing herself, and that last one especially. What had that voice been? Yet it seemed so real. If he closed his eyes, he could almost hear the whispering in his ear, like a cold wind rustling dry leaves. You okay, son? Lucian shuddered. Yeah, fine. You know, fine is never an appropriate answer. I'm okay then. No, you're not. I see it in your eyes. Would it hurt to answer honestly for once? He'd been burned before doing that, but her eyes were so concerned. Maybe he should let his guard down this one time. All right, I'll admit, I'm a little nervous about my results. The test was something else. They put me in an MMI vat, and then I had these crazy dreams. Lucian told her about what happened, but left out the more graphic details. Lucian didn't say anything about the last dream. You know, I had to take a follow-up once, she said. Nothing came of it though. Most of the tests are false positives. You'll see. It was hard to keep his voice calm. Why didn't you say something before? It was so long ago. There was more to the story. That much Lucian can see. It was the year after your father's death. That was a bad year. At Lucian's silence, she kept talking. This might sound crazy, but your grandmother always had these, little inklings. She'd walk into a house and know things. When she was alive, your father and I were about to buy a house back in Texas, but she said no the minute she passed through the door. Said a lot of sad things happened there. She shook her head. Thank God they didn't test back then. She'd have been one. The story made his gut churn. Being a mage wasn't supposed to be genetic, but many people believed it was. He's going to be fine, Mom. The odds are small, she admitted. Tomorrow, we'll go and everything will be okay, you'll see. Was she trying to convince him or herself? Lucian had a feeling the odds didn't matter. Either he was a mage or he wasn't. Either his life was ruined or it wasn't. His sleigh chimed. He picked it up in his right hand, its size adjusting to fit perfectly. When Lucian read the message, his heart plummeted. What does it say? His mother asked. He swallowed the lump in his throat. They want me back at 1400 tomorrow.